Now, statistics from the Ghana National Fire Service indicates that the country lost an estimated 2.43 million Ghana cedis within 2 months between January and February of 2014, following a string of market fires that hit the country. A team of forensic experts were brought in from the U.S. to help unravel the mysteries behind these fires, which were initially blamed on arsonists. What we do not know, I beg your pardon, is what recommendations were made and the extent to which these have been implemented to stop future fires. A huge public outcry ensued. We spoke about it and we went back to sleep. End of story. The year has started and the fires are back. Barely a week ago, a Malcolm warehouse in Accra was reduced to rubble. And yesterday, the central medical stores went up in flames. So what excuse do we have this time round? Do we continue to sit and watch as public buildings still open to the public without basic fire safety systems? What makes it so hard to enforce the law which makes it mandatory for every public place to be insured? Is the cost of insuring a property against fire anything compared to the actual loss during a fire outbreak? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Nt. Malcolm warehouse fire, Kantamanto warehouse fire, Dummy market fires, fire at Sodom and Gomorrah, and the latest is the fire at the Central Medical Stores in Tema. These are just a few of the series of fires in the last 12 months. Now, what makes it sad is that many of these properties destroyed by fire, including the medical stores, are not insured. But why is it so? Let's get some analysis on this. Edgar Oredu is an insurance practitioner. He's joining us now for some interesting analysis of this dimension. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Now, the fire issue has become a major concern. Is there a reason why government agencies or institutions could choose to insure or not insure their properties, vehicles, buildings, etc.?
Well, I should say it is not a question of the government refusing or not to refuse. I think it is rather a wrong perception that the authorities in question have.
I see.
One of the issues is simply that one could say government properties are scattered all over the area, and therefore, if you want to place insurance on them, it's going to cost the nation so much. And because of such thinking, they are failing to even approach the Insurance Commission.
I see.
Which is the regulator, to say that since these are all national assets, all the insurance companies need to come together and find the best way, that we could protect these things. But unfortunately, the fire premiums are one of the lowest among the products of, the services that we render to the public.
I see.
So the problem I see here is a perception that they have rather than actually confronting the situations on the ground.
That's very interesting. Let's take it one by one. Let's take the Ministry of Foreign Affairs fires in the last time that it happened. For a building of that size and magnitude, if the government was to insure against fire, how much roughly would that cost in a month and let's say in a year?
Let me just say one thing here. It is based on the value of the property.
I see.
Right. Now, on the just surface, I could tell you that if you present a value, let's say 10 billion worth, from the underwriter's point of view, I don't think you'll be paying even more than 2 million to cover that. You got it. 10 billion, whether US or Ghana cedis, the premium you pay, the maximum, would cap to about just 2 million for that. The question as I put across is this. I think maybe even in line with budgetary allocation, I don't know how the Ministry of Finance looks at some of business because, as you rightly stated, the Foreign Affairs Ministry was supposed to be a guide to the government. I don't know what discussions took place at cabinet level around the time this incident came up and what were the conclusions and what have you. But proposals have been made to the various organizations, the various institutions, the various ministries, and nothing is coming out of them. So the insurance companies themselves have made the move but the kind of response that is expected from government is not forthcoming.
Now, I find it very sad. You spoke about the mentality. So this kind of mentality is a mentality government transfers to the citizen, or is a mentality we pick up from the society that insurance is expensive. For example, we do have many vehicles which drive on the road and they do third-party insurance policy which only covers a third party. In the event that the car is, for example, catches fire or massive accident destroys the fire, you get nothing. Is this the mentality that is helpful for an economy like ours making a transition into a middle income status?
Well, you could look at it from both sides, and then the ball now falls on the hands of the National Insurance Commission. They have a lot to do in this direction to give the public the confidence that the insurance companies are not there to siphon their money, but rather to bail them out in times of troubles of this nature. You know, look at the situation we have on our hands now. The whole medical stores have been gutted by fire. And sadly enough, this is not the first time that medical stores has been gutted by fire. So you want to ask yourself, the authorities in question, you have gone through this experience, I think, twice or three times already. What failed and what went wrong? No one could find the need that there was a need for insurance to be in place. These are the kind of questions that we insurers are asking ourselves.
Right, Edgar, I'll have you hold briefly. I'm joined on the other telephone line by Justice Yao Ofori, who is the director at the Ghana Insurance College. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good evening.
Now, we're all talking insurance based on what happened yesterday at the Central Medical Stores. That whole building is not insured against fire. In the course of the fire, everything that is lost is totally lost. There's no insurance cover, there's no relief for anything. All the costs involved rebuilding and then restocking all falls back squarely on government. Is there a law which makes it mandatory for everyone, including government, to insure their properties?
I'm not aware about when it comes to government, but I know there is a law which requires all commercial buildings to be insured by fire or property insurance.
I see. I'm curious. I said I see because I want to build a point that if this is law, legal, mandatory, that the government has a responsibility to ensure that individuals or private people or businesses which operate commercial properties insure them. How come that government doesn't take insurance too serious? What typical example is a Central Medical Stores, which is up in flames now, and it doesn't have insurance.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a lesson for our leaders to also consider having compulsory insurance for all their entities. Now, doubt and uncertainties are actually integral parts of our life. And in fact, people hardly realize the importance of an insurance policy until they actually face such an example. We hope that this will be a lesson and that each government department will have a budget purposely designed for insurance coverages. It is a must.
Well, there have been many lessons. I mean, we've had the issue of market fires, which the whole of last year was a huge issue. There were fires in Kantamanto, fires in Kumasi Central Market, fires in Domain Market. Many of these places that the fire raises down do not have insurance cover. So what kind of country do we live in? I'm curious, because if I have a car and I do not insure my car and I get an accident and my car gets destroyed or is damaged, the burden on me is huge. So who polices the police? Who ensures that government goes ahead to perhaps act on the same laws that it's implementing? If government is ensuring that individuals buy insurance covers for their properties, why is it that government is not able to do the same?
I guess this question would have to go to the government. Why they asking us to have it and they don't have it? The government could also be self-insured, but the point is that would they be financially capable of putting some money aside for the unfortunate event? It's a tough one.
It's a very tough one.
I can imagine assuming Akosombo Dam, which is the heart of Ghana, is not insured.
It's not insured. But is it insured? Would you know? I mean, we've never asked that question.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
But if it's not insured, in the event of a fire, that's a major loss to the state.
Yeah. And when we talk of fire or property, we don't mean only insurance against the peril of fire, but it covers other things, other perils like lightning, earthquake, flood. So, I mean, when you have fire insurance, it covers a lot. Excuse me?
Yeah, no, I'm listening, sir.
Yeah, what I was saying was that fire insurance covers a lot. It's even, it can cover burglary, the building itself, liability, earthquake. It depends on the perils that you choose. The fire is just the basic.
The fire is just the basic.
So there are other perils that an insurance will probably include to the fire peril that they've insured you against. So
right.
I would advise that we look at it, and then as I'm aware that the National Insurance Commission is now enforcing the law that all public, commercial buildings should be insured by fire.
Properly
and I hope
insured.
that maybe with this lesson, the government would also do something about its own organizations.
Right, Mr. Ofori, I'll still have you hold. I have on the other telephone line Edgar. Edgar is still on. Edgar, if you're hearing, the argument now is getting interesting to the point that I asked the key question, which I'm sure that we're trying to get a government representative to answer that. Who polices the police? I mean, why is it that government is asking people to go ahead and purchase insurance, but it's not purchasing insurance for government institutions and buildings and facilities? Now, I want to understand from your point of view as a practitioner, if you were to recommend a massive review in the insurance industry, what would you say?
Well, first of all,
sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm getting conflicting answers. I have Edgar Oredu, and I still also have Mr. Ofori, who is director of Ghana Insurance College. Mr. Ofori, we'll have you hold. I put this question to Edgar. We'll come to you later in the discussion. So, Edgar, you heard my question.
Well, first of all, let me express my, dissatisfaction with the law itself. I don't think the law actually addresses the issues on the ground.
What does the law address? Then we will see what it does not address.
What the law says is just like my senior colleague was saying there, that you see commercial buildings where the public have ingress and egress access. Now, the point for me is this. When you talk about commercial vehicles and commercial buildings, we are talking of a situation here where contents, that is, the contents is the drugs that have been lost. So if you want to restrict yourself to the law is telling you about only buildings. But we are going beyond buildings now.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and these are contents that are in the building. So this is some of the few problems that I have with this particular law. You get it?
Yes.
Because if you insist on the building can just be insured. What about the content?
The contents.
And the contents at times are even of a greater value than the property. Let me give you a practical example now. The government has spent over 50 million Ghana cedis in renovating our flagship, that is the State House. Okay? And the building is standing there today, not insured. And look at the finishing that is going into that building. Recently, you heard Parliament went to buy some furniture over so much millions from China.
From China, yes, exactly.
It has not been insured. That whole enclave, the Parliament House, the Banquet Hall, the Speaker's office, the State House.
Nothing is insured.
You see, this is a real state asset, right? And as I said, for all you know, if you even put the whole thing around $100 million, the premium you pay would not even be more than $200,000
annually. That will be an annual payment.
An annual thing, and it's not. You are properly secured. So there are issues with the law, in my own view, because and I think that law itself is misplaced. Because the essence of that law is to avoid or prevent social destitute. That is why they are asking commercial buildings to be insured. But it is not the building itself that is important. It's the liabilities that are going to arise as a result of the building collapsing or getting gutted by fire, and human beings will get injured.
Yeah.
That is the crux of the issue. So these are the deficiencies in that law, and I think that they need to go back again and look at it. Because if I have my building and I've insured it, if there's a loss, I benefit. I get my money back. But what about the human beings who would suffer in that building? Don't forget the Malcolm disaster as an example.
Yes.
Don't forget the stadium disaster, right?
Yes.
So here you say the stadium is insured against fire, and you have over 40-something thousand people there, right? Yeah. And there's a match and a stampede, and people get injured.
And people die.
Where is that policy? So in my view, I think that this policy or this particular section of that act must be looked at again, because it is not really addressing the essence of what is intended to be. Right. But coming back to your point, I think that the National Insurance Commission, I think about 2 or 3 months ago, the National Insurance Commission set up a task force that includes people from the police service, I think the fire service, and then a few insurance people to start this serious, aggressive, should I say, enforcement of the law. Right.
Yeah.
And as my senior colleague also said the other time that yes, when it comes to the government, right, the government may have some kind of funds sitting somewhere for certain things, but from what we have seen recently, it tells us that that kind of funds is not there. You know, and in a situation like this, the government would also tell you that the central source is not directly under government, but there is a particular institution that is responsible for the central source, be it the Ministry of Health or the Ghana Health Service or Kolebu. We don't even know who is actually responsible for that. Now, then the question is that if you're able to identify, zero into that particular institution, then you want to find out from them. This is not the first time you've experienced such a problem.
So why have you waited for a second time?
So did you make budgetary allocations for it? And was it rejected or something? Then we can begin to zero in and know where exactly the problem is.
Then I guess we can begin to hold people responsible for what went wrong.
Exactly.
Edgar, I'm grateful for your time. I'm afraid that I only have a short time, and so I will continue this discussion much later. Edgar Oredo is an insurance practitioner. We're extremely grateful for his time. Now, I still have on the line Justice Yao Ofori, who is the director of the College of Insurance. So, Ms. Ofori, you heard Edgar's argument that possibly what we should begin to do is to hold individuals responsible for things that go wrong in a place like the central medical stores. Do you share the same view?
I think I do agree with him, but we need the backing of the law. It should be mandatory for such organizations as it is for private institutions.
And if they do nothing about it, because I know that we've had this issue of insurance over and over again, and as individuals, I mean, even if we look at the housing industry now, we live in homes, we don't pay insurance to cover the homes. Recently there was a fire outbreak here in Kokomlimle where a tenant lives in a house. He comes home for break or lunch or something, and the whole place is up in flames. All they do is to throw him out of the place. He has nowhere to live, and the landlord is unable to rebuild the structure anymore, and that's the end of the story. Must we begin to change our mentality to see insurance as a safety catch that everybody must buy into?
Oh yeah, I like the example that he gave, the tenant and the landlord. Yeah, even if you're a tenant, you need fire insurance for yourself. You have an insurable interest in the building in which you reside. So the landlord has an obligation to have insurance, and you, the tenant yourself, you need insurance because you could be held liable for damaging the landlord's property. You could also lose your belongings through burglary or anything. So I think we need a lot of public education because a lot of people don't know much about fire.
Yeah.
When we talk of fire, it is the basic. There are other things that comes out.
Right.
So like fire is the basic. You can get light, how do you call it, burglary, liability, content, a whole lot. We mentioned stock, yeah. Even stock comes under fire. So when we talk of fire, we're not talking about only the building. You cannot have stock without fire insurance.
Right,
Mr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Justice, already we're grateful for your time. We'll continue the discussion on, and I'm sure that we will get down to the bottom of it to really establish how come that state institutions hardly get insurance cover. Now, let's get to the ground there in Tema, the Central Medical Stores. The news that we're getting is that majority of the drugs that were burnt down in the fire from yesterday have been expired for as long way back as 3 to 4 years. This is the latest that we're picking on the ground, and our reporter Yao Kwabena Chenchahine Boating is on the ground now. He's joining us by telephone. Chenchahine, good evening, and thanks for your time.
Hello, Steve. Yes, good evening.
You've been there all day. I nearly said good afternoon. So tell me, you are hearing that a lot of the medical supplies, including drugs, that were in stock at the time the fire was actually has expired as way back as 3 years. Quick update on that.
Well, that is actually true. I can confirm that one. I have seen some myself. I've seen quite a number of things. But even before we get to that, maybe I just need to give you a brief summary of what has happened over the past 2 to 3 hours. Over the past 3 hours or so, I don't know whether if you can see on my extreme left, the fire seems to have reignited there, and that is for a particular reason. It's for one reason that the firefighters were working until they were asked to stop working. We are told an official from the ministry, we are told his name is Dr. Sego. He says he has been instructed to assess the situation, to see whether or not there's a need for them to proceed, because the concern has to do with the protection of the fire officers who are actually trying to combat this fire, who are fighting this fire. Most of them do not have the protective gearing they're supposed to be in. The nose masks, for instance, the oxygen masks and all, they've run out of them. So that was the concern, that in order to protect them, they should stop the process, they should stop fighting the fire. And when they stop for just some few minutes, this is the end result. They actually warned us that should they stop, this is what's going to happen. The fire is going to wake and it's going to probably spread to adjoining buildings. And again, the adjoining building, with that I'm referring to the mechanical workshop of the building, of this place. That was their main concern. But if you can see behind me, these are piles of drugs that are here, drugs and condoms scattered all over the place. I'm hoping I could probably get you a box of some of the things here, so you can, so that's the pack of safe condoms that were brought into the country, I'm supposing. These are not expired in any way. Please, let me let you know, these are not expired. The expiry date on this particular one is April 2017. But some information I'm putting on the ground suggests that even these ones that are not expired, they still did not meet the criteria. We are told these ones are not the ones for this particular
if you can hear me, I mean, we would like to continue this much in detail and like to get as much as we can whilst you're there on the ground. We're grateful for that quick update, and we'll return to you on News at 8 to get more on that. But we're joined on the line now by the director of the Central Medical Stores, Dr. Samuel Boating, who is joining us to respond to some of the issues that are coming forward on the ground there in Tema. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So does it surprise you that we're getting reports that some of the medical supplies there in the Central Medical Stores which caught fire have been expired way back as 3 to 4 years?
I will not agree with 3 to 4. I know that somewhere in April 2014, as part of our normal routine stock check, we identify some expired products. We are working on, we call for investigation how they got expired, which is being handled by Yoko. So it's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing. So you are aware that there are some medical supplies in there that have expired. But
as far back as 2014, April.
As far back as 2014.
Yes, CMS report. And let me correct, I'm not the director of Central Medical Store. I'm the director of Procurement Supply at the Ministry of Health.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much for the correction. We still are getting feed from the ground there at the Central Medical Store. So quickly, tell me, now that this fire is still raging, the fire service is trying desperately to put out the fire, and we're also told that Ghana might get just about 3 months of medical supplies, you know, in view of this destruction. What's the strategy? What's the plan?
I thought this evening, the minister's briefing, he gave a very comprehensive response. He mentioned a lot of things that we, first of all, we identify a warehouse where we'll be keeping our transit stores. The regions are holding at least 3 months of stock. We are also expecting some stocks in the pipeline.
Okay.
Pipeline means that orders have been placed and they are yet to arrive. And some of them will be arriving by the end
so
of
what, when you say pipeline, is it that these supplies were ordered way before the fire, or they were ordered after the fire, let's say 24 hours after the fire?
Normally, we don't order, what do you call it? We do orders virtually. You get it?
Yes.
So at any point in time, we are reviewing our stocks and orders. And so we have some orders in the pipeline which we expect to be arriving in, some of them by the end of this month, some in February, March, April. The challenge is faced now that the Central Medical Store has been devastated. And we identified a warehouse that we want to use as transit point. So we are able to develop a medium to long-term strategy to address the problem.
Right. Before I make you go quickly, I need to find out from you, we have established that the place was not insured, of course. So the loss of damage to the building, loss of the supplies that are already stored there becomes a huge cost. Are we learning any lessons at all? Is this the beginning of lessons for your unit to start thinking about insuring this central medical stores?
Yes, we this afternoon, I think the minister also alluded to the fact that with the event that has just passed, it has waking us up, and we think we should start looking at insurance, not our stores, but all MW's estates and properties.
And properties. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And Doc, we're grateful for your time on today's Big Story. Thanks very much. Let's go back to Chenchehine, who is there on the ground to give it a final wrap before we draw the curtains. Chenchehine, if you can hear me, quickly, you've given us a solid narrative, enough narrative about some of the drugs being expired. And the response we got from Dr. Samuel Boateng is that they are aware of some of the drugs having expired, but not as far back as 4 years to 3 years.
Well, I have samples of some of the drugs that are expired. And you can see in your short, these are some of the drugs that are currently here. I don't know whether it's okay. Maybe the camera can zoom in on this particular. Let me get the particular expiry. Okay, this particular one expired in January 2014. It was manufactured in 2011. That's for this particular one. Now, there are a few more here. Okay. For the one I have here, it was also manufactured in December 2009, expired in November 2014.
Yeah, I mean, it means that the expiry dates, rightly so, like the doc said, dates back as far back as 2014. So that puts the expiry within the range of a year or so. What are the fire personnel saying about these?
I have actually cited some other drugs that go as far back as 2003.
I see.
Expiry. Let me cite. Okay, this is also 2014. I got a few samples I placed here. I don't know where it must have gone back. There was a particular drug I saw. It was a tablet. It expired in 2003, I must say, and it was actually still here. But that's the kind of situation. But over here, if you can see, these are piles of the things that are actually expired. These are the pounds over here. A huge quantity, I must say.
Right.
And they stretch to the extreme end over there, the extreme end over there to the left.
Right, Chenchehine, we're grateful. I will still have Dr. Samuel Boateng on the line. So, Doc, I'll give you the last word. I know this is a crisis. Well, some might call it a crisis, but the Ghana Health Service may not think it is. Now that we have this on our hand, and there are many who are concerned the implications it will have on healthcare delivery across the country, what do you have to say in order to assure all of us that everything is under control?
Yeah, again, just like the minister said this evening during his press briefing, we are putting in place an emergency response to respond to the crisis. I have explained that all our stocks are not kept in one egg. We have
That's right.
In all the regional medical stores, teaching hospitals, and I've said that at least we are holding not less than 3 months stock. We also have some stocks in the pipeline that we are expecting January, February, March, and that is also about 3 to 4 months stock, some of them even 6 months stock. So in terms of jeopardizing the health, in the short term, we have this response. In the long term, we are meeting our donor partners somewhere on Friday or thereabout to strategize the medium to long term strategy.
Donor partners. That's the issue. You're meeting donor partners. They are going to fund this also.
No. They are stakeholders in health.
Okay.
They are stakeholders in health. So we were meeting the stakeholders, but I'm saying that the plan the series. We're meeting the donor partners on Friday.
Right.
To inform them officially about this tragedy and see what they can do in terms of those of them who have donation to make, which is always a part of the normal process.
That's right.
So that we can speed them up or whatever.
Okay.
So just not to solicit fund, no.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Samuel Boateng. We're grateful for your time. We've been trying to reach Echo Sam, who was at the Minister of Health press conference earlier, to give us a rundown of exactly what happened there, what the minister said, but we've not been able to reach him. I'm sure that we'll bring him on when we raise him. Subsequently, we'll give you details of this on our major primetime news bulletin, News at 8 with Israel I. My name is Stephen Antia. This is where we'll draw the curtains. We'll be right back with an interactive segment. Do stay.